Hey, what's up, player? Welcome to another episode of the Segaholic. In this episode, we're just going to take a look at a bunch of different Saturns. First things first, this is the 50th episode of the Segaholic. So naturally, this milestone episode had to be on my favorite console of all time, the Sega Saturn. And also, just recently, the channel just got its 1500th subscriber. So yeah, huge mahalos to those who subbed. Again, folks, thank you. Okay, first up is the very first Japanese console released. It has a warm mid-gray color, and notice from this particular console, it bronze where it gets sun-stained. Taking a look at the back, this is a model number HST3200, made in Japan by Tokai Denshi. Also characteristic of this particular model is the T-shaped IEC 60320C8 figure of 8 AC inlet. And taking a look behind the battery cover, common with this model is the crooked RF shield and also the blue memory reset button. On the left side of the console is some holes for an internal fan that was originally planned for. Here's another HST3200, but this one was manufactured by Seiyou. After some searching online, I only could find two examples of manufacturers for this model, again Seiyou and Tokai Denshi. Here's a look at the controller that came with the console. Obviously it sports the same color as the console with the warm mid-gray color and the blue buttons. Model number for this controller is HSS0101. Next up is the V Saturn equivalent to the HST3200, the Victor made RGJX1. This one was made by Seiyou, and again notice the T-shaped AC inlet, and also behind the battery cover again is the crooked RF shield with the blue memory reset button, and notice the different shade of gray of the top and bottom shell. And again on the left side are the fan holes. Here's the controller that came with the V Saturn, and notice again the top and bottom shells are different shades of gray. Model number is RGCP5. Here's the High Saturn or Hitachi Saturn, model number MMP1, made by S. Maruko. This is the Hitachi version of the HST3200, but unique among Saturn consoles was that these High Saturns all came standard with these movie cards. These movie cards allowed you to play VCDs or play MPEG-1 encoded movies on certain games. High Saturns are pretty rare, so expect to pay a pretty penny if you want to get one. Again, this model is the High Saturn version of the models with the fan holes. Here's the Hitachi Saturn controller, notice the same color scheme, and this one is a model number HSS0118. This is the North American version of the previous consoles, model number MK800, and this one was made in Japan. The American version had this smooth D-shaped AC inlet, and the internal layout is similar to the HST3200, although Sega got rid of the fan holes on the case. North American Saturns have the manufacturer's date on the bottom. This one was manufactured in April of '95. This was just a month prior to its debut and availability at the E3 show in May of '95. This is the same model, but this one was made in Taiwan. This one was manufactured in July of '95, which is the last month this model was produced. This is the controller that came with the console. This is unique to the North American and PAL regions. This controller's model number is MK80100. This is the next revision of the oval-shaped buttoned Sega Saturns, model number HST3210. This one was made in Taiwan. All Japanese, non-Japan made Sega Saturns did not have a manufacturer name in the back, instead replacing that with a Sega logo. Also changed was a different style figure of 8 AC inlet, and now in the back of the battery cover the RF shield is now straightened out and we still have the memory reset button. Internally, all PCBs were consolidated to the bottom part of the shell, and the non-functioning fan holes were removed. All oval-shaped Sega Saturns are referred to as Model 1 Sega Saturns, but these are easier to work with because of its simplified internal design. Here's a Japan-made example made by Seiyo D, and another made by Sanwa Denki, the known Japanese arcade parts manufacturer. And lastly, here's one manufactured by Funai. All Japanese Model 1 consoles use the same controllers as the previous versions. This is the V Saturn equivalent to the HST3210. This is a model number RGJX1Y, manufactured by Seiyo D. I tried searching for an RGJX1X or Z version to see if they exist, but all that came up was this Y version. Just like the Sega Model 1s, all V Saturn Model 1s use the same controllers. And here we have the High Saturn version of the HST3210. This is model number MM1-2, made by Tokai Denshi. And like I said previously, all High Saturns come with this movie card. And yes, there is a model MMP-1-1. It took me a while to find this picture, so these may be more rare than a 1-2 version. Externally, there seems to be no differences. And yes, all High Saturns come with the same controller. Here's the North American version of the HST3210. Although internally different, Sega chose to keep the MK-80000 model number. The AC inlet is the only external difference. Again, internally, the difference between this and the previous version was all electronics was moved to the bottom part of the shell. This console was manufactured in July of '95. Here's a Saturn from the Segaholic number 21. This particular one is made in Malaysia and was manufactured in March of '96. And the controller that came with all North American Model 1 Sega Saturns. Now this is the Model 2 Japanese Sega Saturn, characterized by the circle buttons. This is a model number HST3220. The figure of 8 AC inlet was kept the same. For the Model 2s, the memory reset button was removed. Sega also removed the side vent holes and the side ribs, giving the console a smoother look. Obviously, Sega moved to this off-white color with gray and red buttons and flaps. Here's a Japanese Model 2 that was made in Korea. And here's one made in Japan by Seiyo D. And lastly, here's another Japanese made one, but this time made by Sanwa Denki. Here you can see the controller's color scheme matching the console's new colors. This controller had a white cord, but they can't have the cord from the old color scheme, and it doesn't mean necessarily that it was Frankenstein. Curiously, the model number is the same as before, HSS0101. Here's a white controller with the old color scheme cord, which I referenced earlier. Here's the Model 2 V Saturn, model number RGJX2. This is the Y model with the JQA logo, and all external features are same throughout the Model 2 consoles. Here you can see JVC kept the subtle two-tone color scheme. Here's the RGJX2X variation by COD. This one is a Y variation without the JQA logo. And lastly, the Z variation by Asahi Electron. This is the controller that comes with the Model 2 V Saturns. You can see Victor used the same colored buttons as the Sega controller, and the model number stays the same as their Model 1 controller, RGCP5. Here's the Model 2 Hitachi Saturn, model number MMP-11. And you should know by now, all Hitachi Saturns come with this movie card. Unlike Sega and Victor, Hitachi chose to use the same controller from their Model 1 console. Here's the This Is Cool or Skeleton Saturn, with the model number still the same, HST3220. I believe all of these were manufactured by COD. And you can see through the case there, the 20-pin ribbon cable for the CD assembly. Oh yeah, this is cool! And here's the controller that came with the Skeleton Saturns. You can see this one has a black cord. Here's the version with the white cord, which I believe were the ones that were sold separately. Model number is the same, HSS0101. Here's a variation of the Sega Skeleton Saturn, which is referred to as the Derby Skeleton Saturn, obviously because they came pre-packaged with the game. The color scheme I heard is a different tint than the normal Skeleton Saturn. Also, they don't have the This Is Cool logo. And here's the Sonic Saturns, which has the Sonic logo on the top, which was only sold in Japanese Toys R Us stores. Here's the North American Model 2 Saturns, which is similar to the Japanese Model 2s, except for color scheme. This one was made in Taiwan. Birth date for this console is April of '96. Here's a Model 2 North American console made in Korea with a birth date of August of '96. Hey, and our Pinoy Sega Saturn, which is manufactured in February of 1997. If you do get one of these Philippine-made Sega Saturns, more than likely it's gonna have a Sanyo CD drive. Here's the controller that got packed in with the Model 2 North American Saturns. These have a model number of MK-80116. And lastly, here's the expensive and exclusive Hitachi Navi Saturn, model number MMP-1000NV. And the cool thing with this console was that you can use it as a navigation device way back in '96. So dudes and chicks, this is it for now. See ya!